best Sooner recruiting and football news with Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
A day of reckoning is upon us, ladies and gentlemen. A day of reckoning has arrived. Locked In is the show. The Ref Sports Radio Network is the station. Thanks for coming along for the ride with me, Parker Thune, and of course, Grayson Singleton here with you on a Monday. And it is a very consequential Monday that is chock full of recruiting news that we're going to talk about for the next hour on these here airwaves. But the news of the day, Mr. Singleton, is that Jaden O'Neal, yes, Oklahoma quarterback commit Jaden O'Neal, four-star prospect in the 2026 cycle, who just moved to Mustang America last week, has touched down in Athens, Georgia. The plot thickens, and thickens significantly.
Parker, you've been out of the dating world for a minute.
Oh, here we go. Keep going.
This is what happens, and this is what you should expect to happen. When you're over here, you got somebody that's a little bit committed to you, right?
But
Things
you're
seem to
still
be
hitting
going
the
in a different
DMs?
direction, but you're still over there sliding them DMs. You're still over here approaching people out at the bar. And if the person you're with is still entertaining other people, not only is it justifiable that you go entertain other people, it's probably smart.
It is probably smart. And for those of you that haven't been following the saga, Jaden O'Neal has been committed to the University of Oklahoma since June 24th of last year. So we're talking almost 9 months since he locked in his pledge to Oklahoma. However, upon Ben Arbuckle's hiring, the Sooners very quickly launched a pursuit of four-star Salina, Texas quarterback Bo Bentley. They intend to take two quarterbacks in the 2026 cycle, and Bo Bentley grew up a lifelong Oklahoma fan. It's his dream offer, dream school. He's got a bunch of other big-time offers, LSU, Florida State, Auburn, Ohio State, and the like. But he's visited Oklahoma twice in the last 6 weeks. And as we sit here on March the 10th, I'm starting to feel, especially based on some of the things I've heard coming out of the weekend that was for Oklahoma at the Future Freaks event, I'm starting to feel like Bo Bentley is going to pick Oklahoma. And there's still plenty of margin for other schools to change his mind. He's going to visit LSU. He's going to visit Florida State. He's going to take several other visits before he makes a decision. But this has just become such a fascinating story, Grayson, because there are so many angles to it. And so where even do you begin to start here? I think you start with this, and this is what I'm going to posit leading off today. I think it has actually become easier than ever before. I mean, you look at Jaden O'Neal, a top 100 national prospect. You look at Bo Bentley, a top 100 national prospect, and you think, there's no way one school is going to be able to sign both of these guys, especially in the NIL era, right? I think especially if you have the fandom angle that you do with Bo Bentley, I would posit that it is easier than ever before for one program to sign multiple blue-chip quarterbacks in the same class, and it has nothing to do with NIL. It has everything to do with the transfer portal. Because I think any prospect who is influenced by the right people and has an intelligent circle around him, and this is particularly true at the quarterback position, they're going to realize that when I get to the college level, the majority of my earnings will be dictated by how I actually play on the field, as opposed to what type of rating or ranking I come in with as a recruit, as a prospect. Yeah, there's the potential for some upfront money, but in the grand scheme, it's probably going to be dwarfed by the amount that I could make if I ascend to the starting role at XYZ school. And so, theoretically speaking, what if both Bo Bentley and Jaden O'Neal approach this with the mindset of, hey, I'm going to go to Oklahoma for 1 year, and then we'll see where things stand. I'm going to go compete with this other guy that's coming in alongside me. We're going to see how we stack up on the practice field. If I've got the leg up on him, if I end up being better, more impressive on the practice field than he is, then I have every reason to stick around. If not, if there's not a clear path to playing time for me, if I don't feel like this is going to get me on the field as quickly as I want to be on the field, I can just hop in the transfer portal and be at another big-time school by next week. What do you think of that?
This is probably, I don't know how many stark disagreements we've had on this show.
Oh, here we go.
I don't think that makes any sense for anybody.
Okay.
I don't think it makes sense for both Jaden O'Neal or Bo Bentley to be here. I don't think it makes sense for Oklahoma to bring both of them in. Here's why. These are two guys in the 2026 class. Or 2026 class. It is not a guarantee that John Mateer moves on after this year.
No, it's not.
He still has eligibility. It is not a guarantee Michael Hawkins moves on. He's still got time. Now you're talking about adding two other blue chippers, and to your argument that the money you're going to make in college is largely going to be dictated upon how you play on the field, there's only one quarterback that plays on the field at one time. And if you're playing three quarterbacks during the season, you've got a catastrophic problem.
That is correct.
So it's not as if either of them or both of them are going to even have an opportunity in their first 2 years. Because even if John Mateer sticks around for 2026, who's the quarterback in waiting next? It's neither of them. It would be presumably Michael Hawkins Jr.
If he's still around.
If he's still around.
Yeah.
That's where we get to the Oklahoma part of all of this. You're still dealing with finite resources, and whether we get a traditional salary cap or something similar, you are still dealing with budgetary constraints. There is no reason financially when you're dealing with budgetary constraints and trying to fill out the rest of your roster that you should have four blue chip quarterbacks or three blue chip quarterbacks and a quarterback you paid close to, if not upwards of $1 million for to bring in from Washington State and John Mateer. So financially, if you look at it from a roster construction standpoint and the kind of money that you would possibly have to commit to four different players on one position, it doesn't make sense for Oklahoma. And because of that, I don't think it's going to make sense for both Jaden O'Neal and Bo Bentley to be here.
Here's the thing, though. Jaden O'Neal and Bo Bentley, I think, are in very similar headspaces from what I understand. Obviously, O'Neal is already committed. Bentley is, as of yet, uncommitted. But I think both of them are in a similar headspace in that they don't really care about the money in an upfront sense. They'll come to Oklahoma for pennies on the dollar because that's where they want to be. Culturally, schematically, Oklahoma fits. They have a desire to be at that specific institution. And kind of like I mentioned earlier, they understand if I'm going to make big money in the long run, it's not going to be until I ascend to the starting role. And at that point, that's going to dictate how much I earn. So I guess what I'm getting at is I think there's a world where if both guys approached it from the standpoint of, I'm going to welcome the competition, I'm going to do my best to beat this other guy out, and we're going to see where things stand after our first year on campus where, odds are neither of us are getting on the field in year one anyway. So it's really just going to come down to who's better on the practice field, who's separating. Then we can reevaluate. And if I have reason to stick around, great, I stick around. If I have reason to leave, okay, I leave. But here's what that demands from both of those guys. It demands the willingness to not have to be the guy. And it's going to be interesting to see whether Jaden O'Neal and Bo Bentley are okay with not being the guy in the class. And I'm most specifically curious about this with Jaden O'Neal because, for instance, if we go back 9 or 10 months, May, June of last year, Oklahoma was in very, very good standing with 2 quarterbacks in the 2026 class as well. This is not the first time that Oklahoma's faced a predicament like this, because we were having some very similar conversations, not you and I specifically, but on this show back when I did it with Tyler Machine Gun McComas. We were having very similar conversations about Jaden O'Neal and Darion Coleman.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you what I was told. And I'm not saying this is the truth, but I believe where it came from, and so I'm passing along information, as is my job. What I was told at that time was, for one thing, well, and just to kind of set the table here, Darion Coleman visited Oklahoma, built a relationship with Oklahoma, was high on Oklahoma before Jaden O'Neal ever got to town. So there was a pre-existing relationship there with Darion Coleman. But what I was told was the Oklahoma staff has to see both of those guys throw at camp before they decide whether they're going to accept a commitment. They like Jaden O'Neal better on tape. And here's the kicker. Here's where things get really, really interesting. Darion Coleman doesn't care about being the only guy in the class. He welcomes the competition against anybody else that Oklahoma can bring in because his mindset is, I'll beat anybody out. But Jaden O'Neal would more so prefer to be the lone quarterback take and to have that type of two-way loyalty with a school like Oklahoma. If he's going to commit to them, he wants them to be committed to him, which is fair, right? But now we get to a point on the calendar where Oklahoma is suddenly once again in the mix for another signal caller, and you see Jaden O'Neal, even after moving to the state of Oklahoma, very actively keeping his options open and, in fact, getting on campus with another school.
And just to continue the point you just ended with, he was committed under a previous offensive regime, too.
He was.
Keep that in mind. And now you bring in another offensive coordinator. And what has Ben Arbuckle done ever since he's gotten here? He went and got Jet New, and he's now pursuing Bo Bentley. He's got his type of guy that he wants to go get, which, by the way, is the natural progression of bringing in new coaches. But even if we take the money out of it, it still doesn't really make much sense for both of them to commit here. It just doesn't. Even if you want to go by the traditional analysis of college football of, when do I get on the field?
Yeah.
Who cares if they don't want to be the guy? That's usually if there's one quarterback ahead of you. In this case, in Oklahoma, there are 2.
Potentially 3.
Exactly. So if you're a guy like Jaden O'Neal who wants to wait 2 years, that's fine. But if you want to, but asking somebody to wait 2 years and then at the same time compete as well, I'm sorry, but that's a tough sell. I think that's a really tough sell to a kid who's been committed to you already for 9 months.
Let's see what the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line thinks. 405-651-3439. By the way, the show is brought to you today and every day by Dorsey Jones Buick GMC out in El Reno. Great staff, great sales environment, phenomenal prices, and great service as well. Half-price oil changes on Saturdays, most notably. So plenty of reasons to check out Dorsey Jones Buick GMC in El Reno. Family-owned and operated. The text line, here we go. Mississippi Pot Roast starts us off by saying, OU is going to F around and find out with Jaden O'Neal.
Does it not feel like that's what's happening here?
There's definitely those vibes. Yes, those vibes do exist. I don't know if that will be the outcome, but they are effing around. What does finding out actually look like tangibly? That's the real question.
I think it is I think more than you're letting on, Parker, because I'm not the insider here, so I feel more than comfortable saying this. More than you're letting on, I think that's a real possibility. If they keep going down this Bo Bentley road, that they lose Jaden O'Neal.
Cody from the Northeast Corner asks, should we be concerned that O'Neal is visiting Georgia? Well, again, it depends on what you want. And this is the poll question on the YouTube chat today. Would you rather have Jaden O'Neal? Would you rather have Bo Bentley? Or, third option, doesn't matter to me, just don't go 0 for 2. So far, Jaden O'Neal has 50% of the vote. Either one, just don't go 0 for 2. With 32% running in second. Bo Bentley has 18% of the vote. So, man, I do feel like that third option is going to be something that a lot of folks come around to in the not-too-distant future, because I have no doubt that once other schools catch wind of the fact that Jaden O'Neal, despite moving to Oklahoma, is at least willing to check around and keep an eye on other options, they may start to press to flip him as well. Georgia may not be the only school involved with Jaden O'Neal here.
And here's the thing, too. Sometimes I'll go back to my dating analogy because I think it's perfect here. Sometimes you've got a nice thing going on with one woman. You kind of check around with another one, and then you lose two.
Does that ever happen to you?
2 years ago?
Oh, wow.
I mean,
okay.
we
got a player here.
I recovered pretty quickly, but yes, that very much did happen about 2.5 years ago. I'm no lie. So you're playing with fire here, and the more they continue to press for Bo Bentley, I think Bo Bentley, if you're playing this game where we're trying to ride the fence or walk the fence with two people, Bo Bentley's going to be your most likely recruit. I mean, the most likely commit. That's just that's my feeling on it.
Drew from Flower Mound asks, hey, Parker, how's it feel that you scored as many field goals as Trey Johnson did on Saturday? Phenomenal, man. I've never been great at basketball, but I was as good as Trey Johnson on Saturday. That is 1,000% true.
God, he was. No, you did a number on him.
832 Mike asks, Parker, you have a better take than all of us. In your view, who's the better QB of the two? I've said this many a time. It depends on what you like. O'Neal is the very prototypical old school QB. Rocket of an arm, not super mobile, but he can stand there in the pocket and he can fire comfortably to all levels with precision and zip too. Bentley is more of your modern QB prospect. He's a creator, if you will. He's going to get out, make plays on the run. He'll hurt you with his legs. He's got good arm talent. I would say Jaden O'Neal probably has more of it, but Bo Bentley on tape has a decidedly plus arm. Like there is plenty of arm talent there. Certainly adequate arm talent to make him a blue chip prospect and probably a guy that's going to compete for an Elite 11 championship this summer. But if we're looking at how they fit Ben Arbuckle's system, I think certainly you lean towards Bo Bentley.
No
from that
doubt.
standpoint, because of the mobility component.
His play style is very similar to that of John Mateer.
It is.
The body type isn't, but the play type is.
Whose body type is similar to John? John Mateer is 6'1", 224, man. That dude is jacked.
Look, he draws the Baker comparison, and I think there's more than whoever that texter during your show that said it was just because he's white. No, there's more to that, and I think the body structure is part of it. When it comes to Jaden O'Neal and Bo Bentley, if you want to do pro comps here, because I think you're exactly on the money when you say it's what kind of quarterback you like. Do you like Ben Roethlisberger or do you like Jaden Daniels? To me, that's the pro comps.
By the way, for some of you that don't take those comparisons very deep generally, he's not comparing Jaden O'Neal to Jaden Daniels. Nick in Sepulpa asks, who has bigger hands, Bentley or O'Neal? I have no idea.
I'm glad you kept my comparison straight.
832 Mike says, okay, I'll take the athlete over the statue.
Well, that's why I compared him to Ben Roethlisberger, because he's not just a sitting duck back there. He's got mobility. Jaden O'Neal's got mobility.
Yeah, he can move. It's just it's not what you would consider a strength of his game.
No,
like when he moves out of necessity. CD from Hockley with a real interesting point. Who recruited O'Neal? Not Arbuckle. Who recruited Bentley? Arbuckle. Give me Bentley. And I think it's really, really interesting when you look at. You fast forward to the 2027 class, and we'll talk about Peyton Houston here in a little bit. But last summer during the Sooners Camp Series, they offered two quarterbacks, and only two quarterbacks in the class of 2027. Trey Taylor, who is kind of cut from the same cloth as Jaden O'Neal, and Peyton Houston, who's a legit dual threat down there in Shreveport, Louisiana. The only one of those guys that Ben Arbuckle prioritized a relationship with when he joined the Oklahoma staff was Peyton Houston. So Arbuckle knows what he likes. I don't know what that means. I don't know how much it means. But there is something, certainly, to C.D. and Hockley's point that Arbuckle was not the one that recruited Jaden O'Neal. However, he is the one that's recruiting Bo Bentley. You all have a ton of takes, ton of opinions on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. We're going to get to them on the other side. So much to pack into this hour of Locked In here on the Ref. We'll keep it rolling and keep it rolling expeditiously on the other side. You're listening to the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Stay right here.
Do you eat, sleep, and breathe Sooner football? We do too. This is the Ref, home of Sooner fans.
Are you in need of purchasing your own health insurance? Are you turning 65 and confused about Medicare? Are you an employer looking at offering benefits to your staff? Call the agents at Allison Insurance. They'll sort through the confusion. They're not captive to just one company, and they'll get the best option for you. Don't get frustrated. Call Allison Insurance at 800-580-5587 or 745-2968. Allison Insurance. They are the experts.
Coach Stoops here for Van Hoos Fence. If you want to work with the best local fence company and get championship service, contact my friend Mark and the Van Hoos Fence team. Van Hoos Fence gives each customer the most professional craftsmanship and competitive pricing in Oklahoma. From wood to chain link to vinyl to metal fences, the Van Hoos Fence team does it all. Contact the Fencing All-Americans at Van Hoos Fence, 405-735-1167 or vhfence.com.
For the professional, it's not enough to just possess knowledge. That's why at GMC, we seek to refine it, to wield its power, to redefine its boundaries, while pushing the limits. And we put this knowledge to the test in every GMC Sierra by engineering each one to outperform your expectations. So you know you're getting precision and durability when you need it most. And that's what makes the GMC Sierra the truck worth knowing. We are professional grade. See your Oklahoma GMC dealers.
Ever wonder why someone would wake up at the crack of dawn just for a chance at the unknown? Maybe a better question is, what are you waiting for? Pacifico is brewed for those who follow their own path. That's living life anchors up.
Hey, Sooner fans, we've got you covered. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
No, we don't get a break.
This is the home of Sooner fans.
The Ref Sports Radio Network.
Hey, it's Mike Steely here for Cavens Group. Has it ever happened to you? You get home from the weekend, you arrive back at work on Monday, and your office is full of water. Not good. Now we're in that time of the year where pipes or sprinkler lines will freeze, and this can lead to a ton of damage to your home or business. Plus, if it's not cleaned up properly, that can lead to even more costly repairs in the future. Call Cavens Group today at 405-573-3048 or visit cavensgroup.com.
Hey guys, it's Chris Blank. Have you been involved in an auto accident? If so, it's time to contact the OKC Car Crash Clinic of Dr. Martin Lopez. He is a board-certified and fellowship MD with unparalleled training and experience. Dr. Lopez works with a great team of healthcare professionals and attorneys to help you achieve the best physical and financial recovery. Contact Dr. Lopez at 405-86-CRASH or at okccrash.com. And don't forget, listen every week to The Plank Show for the Impact Player of the Game, brought to you by Dr. Martin Lopez.
Call the 12th Avenue Chick-fil-A in Norman at 405-310-3189. Let them prepare your party. You'll be the favorite guest when you bring a Chick-fil-A nugget tray, sandwiches, or a mac and cheese tray. It'll be their pleasure to serve you, whether dining in, carrying out, catering, or delivering delightfulness to your front door. Box meals to nugget trays to gallons of lemonade and tea. They have plenty to offer for your next class party, team celebration, or family gathering. You'll be the big-time guest when you bring Chick-fil-A. Call 405-310-3189. And remember, eat more chicken.
Quick news update for those of you following NFL free agency happenings today. The Jets have signed Justin Fields. The Seahawks have signed Sam Darnold, so some movement in the ranks of the quarterbacks across the league. The Baltimore Orioles have revealed all orange uniforms for the 2025 season, and they look exactly as much like prison jumpsuits as they probably do in your mind's eye.
They really do.
They're terrible. Jackson Holiday is modeling them, though. So there you go. Oklahoma's own. The state of Oklahoma, to be clear. I guess he technically belongs to Oklahoma State. But on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, many of you chiming in on the Jaden O'Neal / Bo Bentley predicament, if that's what you can call it, that the Sooners find themselves in. Doug in Norman, and I know there are many that are going to ask a question of this ilk, so let's get to it. Doug in Norman says, what happened to the so-called OU culture wherein the policy was allegedly that if you commit to OU, then you are not permitted to visit any other school because that would somehow prove a lack of commitment to OU? Apparently, we can now throw that concept out the window because numerous examples now show that BV will look the other way if it serves his purposes.
I don't like that at all. You mind if I jump in here right
fast?
Yeah,
no, go ahead. Say what you're going to say.
I don't like that at all.
The policy?
I don't know. I don't like where you're coming from with that text because I think there's one thing you left out. You left out the commitment on the other side. Commitment's a two-way street.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want a guy to be committed to you, because I know we're isolating this to the Jaden O'Neal case. If you want somebody to be committed to you, why are you going out looking for another quarterback in his recruiting cycle? I'm sorry here, but if Jaden O'Neal committed under a previous offensive regime, a new offensive coordinator comes in and is blatantly saying, yeah, I like you, but I kind of like this other guy better. It's not a secret. It's not a secret. You just have to follow the tree leaves. It would be unequivocally stupid for him not to take visits anywhere else.
And I agree with you. I certainly understand this from Jaden O'Neal's side.
So commitment's got to be a two-way street. If you want a guy to be committed to you and not go take other visits, then don't go hunting for another 4-star quarterback in his same recruiting class.
Yeah, here's the thing.
That would be dumb for him not to explore other options.
And you're 100% right. It would be dumb for Jaden O'Neal not to explore other options. He's well within his rights to do so. He hasn't signed anything yet. And look, if your school's looking around for other quarterbacks, sure, you might as well just keep your options open, especially because you committed under the former offensive coordinator instead of the current one. But Drew from Flyer Mountain on the text line, for instance, says, no loyalty, SMH. I mean, it's like the meme of the guy and his girl walking by another girl, and the guy looks back at the girl who's walking by.
Exactly.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. And what I think a lot of people are overlooking is the fact that Oklahoma has a roster to build, right? And while it might be an unspoken assumption that you only take one quarterback in a class, that's not always the case. Sometimes you need two. And with where Oklahoma is at right now, roster-wise, they do need two quarterbacks moving forward because you cannot count on any of these guys individually to be back next year. Think about it. There's a very real world in which John Mateer is in the NFL a year from now, or getting ready to be drafted into the NFL. There's a very real world where Michael Hawkins has decided, I'm tired of waiting, I'm transferring, and he's gone. There's a very real world in which, and I would consider this a likelihood, that Cole Gonzalez, who's going to have 1 year of eligibility left at that point, decides, I probably want to go somewhere I can actually start. And he bounces. The same is true for Jet New, who might just realize, you know what? I might never get on the field here. As the fourth stringer for the time being, maybe I should be better served, maybe I would be better served to look somewhere else for a more immediate path to playing time. You cannot count on any of your current scholarship quarterbacks to be on this roster a year from now. And Oklahoma needs two quarterbacks in the 2026 cycle. Here's what it doesn't mean. It doesn't mean they're not committed to Jaden O'Neal, because they certainly haven't told Jaden O'Neal to go kick rocks. They haven't pulled his scholarship. They haven't said, yeah, you can't come here anymore. No, they still want Jaden O'Neal. He's still committed to Oklahoma, and the relationship between the two parties is still very solid. But again, roster needs. The needs of the football program take precedence over, I guess, what you would consider to be an assumed gesture of loyalty from a program to a player. Because rewind to the 2024 class, for instance. Oklahoma had Michael Hawkins committed very early. And Oklahoma, at a certain point in the summer, decided we need to take a second quarterback. They pushed for Samaj Jones, who wound up signing with Cincinnati, didn't get him. They pivoted to Brendan Zurbrugg. And they vetted that decision with Michael Hawkins. Michael Hawkins said, yeah, come on with it. Bring in another quarterback. I'll beat him out. And he did do that in year one, mind you. Like Michael Hawkins made starts for Oklahoma as a true freshman. Brendan Zurbrugg showed up. Both of those guys were okay with the other's presence. They actually built a really good friendship throughout the process and once they got to town. But at the end of year one, Brendan Zurbrugg transferred to Utah because he realized, okay, it's probably not going to happen for me at Oklahoma if I'm looking up at Michael Hawkins. So to take two quarterbacks is on occasion a necessity for a program, and all you have to do is pick two quarterbacks. You got to find two guys that are okay with having competition within their own class. Mm-hmm. It seems to me that Bo Bentley's okay with that, at least from everything I've heard about his interest in OU and his willingness to welcome the smoke from anybody that he comes in alongside. The only lingering question is it something that Jaden O'Neal is going to be okay with? Because, again, if you go back to the saga with him and Darion Coleman, at the time, Jaden O'Neal wanted to be the only guy. And at that time, mind you, at that time, this is not true anymore, but at the time, Oklahoma could proceed and did proceed with plans of only taking one quarterback in the 26 class.
And here's the thing. Nobody's wrong with what's going on. But if there's not going to be a two-way loyalty, then you can't have only one person looking out for the best interest of that entity.
Yeah, certainly.
And that's what I think is going on here. This is on the text line, Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Santa John, Grayson, who sets the rules whereby a school cannot recruit more than one quarterback? You're not wrong. Nobody here is wrong. But if they're going to recruit multiple quarterbacks, by the way, Jaden O'Neal's a 5-star, right? Or is he a 4?
He's a 4.
He's a 4. Bo Bentley, about to be a 4, I believe.
He is a 4.
If he's not already a 4.
Yeah.
That's
verging on 5-star territory.
2 4-star, one of them probably going to be a 5. I'm sorry, but these old policies have to go. You can't if you're going to look out, if you're Oklahoma and you're going to look out for yourself and say, well, we've got to take 2 quarterbacks, you're doing your job. But Jaden O'Neal would be serving to his own detriment to not look out for himself as well by going and at least vetting other options. So this is a situation here where nobody's wrong. And look, sometimes policies have to be amended. I know they've got a policy where they say you take no other official visits. I'm sorry, but quarterbacks are treated differently.
Yes, they are.
Especially,
just like Michael Fasusi was treated differently, right?
Quarterbacks and pristine talents at pristine positions are going to be treated differently. That is the world we live in, and I think it's the right move. Nobody here is wrong. It's especially too, Parker, you laid out. How many names did you name out? 5? John Mateer, Michael Hawkins, Jet New, Cole Gonzalez, Bo Bentley, Jaden O'Neal. There are 6 people involved in this Oklahoma quarterback carousel of who's going to be on the roster. That is, I'm sorry, way too many variables for me not to go look at least explore what else is out there. Way too many variables.
And the quarterback market and the transfer, like how many quarterbacks are there these days that don't end up transferring at some point throughout their collegiate career? I believe the number last year was something like 53% of quarterbacks on an FBS roster, period, had transferred at some point. So the likelihood at this point is that any quarterback on any roster anywhere has hit the portal at least once. And so, frankly, you're in an era where you just can't count on anybody to stick around for long. You'd like to believe that that's the case. Certainly more so with certain guys than others. But you can never count on it. Patrick says, college football is the ultimate soap opera. If they ever put this on TV, it would be the most watched show ever with the craziness that happens legally and illegally. Santa John says, good point, Parker. If O'Neal cannot handle competition, then I definitely would prefer Bo Bentley. And what Grayson said rings true. No one's in the wrong. It just comes down, like, here's what Oklahoma's going to communicate and has communicated to Jaden O'Neal. Look, we're bringing in 2 quarterbacks. We still love you. Like, we still want you. None of that has changed, but we need another guy numbers-wise, and so we're going to recruit another guy. Now, Jaden O'Neal, to this point, has been fine with that, right? He hasn't decommitted. He hasn't reopened his recruitment process. And, in fact, amidst all of that, he has moved to the state of Oklahoma. But from a business standpoint, it is certainly in Jaden O'Neal's best interest to, at the very least, keep his options open.
But
right,
here's what I hate about these these conversations. Why do we always? Why do some? I say we. I mean, and I think it's a decent portion of the general public. Why do we always immediately go to attacking the character of the player? I mean, why do we do that? I mean, Santa John, look, I get what you're saying, that, he might be running away from competition. Why is that our first thought? Why do we treat players like why? I don't get why we, and maybe it's because of the capitalistic society of everything is business-centric in America.
Yep.
So we always look out for the business, and we always want the business to thrive instead of the employee. I think that's what it is, but why is it Oklahoma's going to bring in 2 quarterbacks? Great, yay, everything's fantastic. That's the way it should be. And then Jaden O'Neal goes and takes a visit somewhere else, and all of a sudden it's, he's not loyal. He's running away from competition. Why is that our first thought? And it's not isolated to the situation. That's a very popular way to go about things.
Yes, it is, and I think it has to do, and I'm not saying this is right or this is the way it should be, because this is not how it should be, but I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that guys are getting paid now, and it's become way easier for the average fan to individually target a certain player with criticism. They feel more justified in doing so.
No, because we've done that forever. This is not a new thing.
No, it's not a new thing. Certainly, it's gotten louder in the NIL era.
That I will agree with you with. Sure, but I don't think that prevailing thought is something that popped up in the last half decade with NIL.
Kyle from Salisaw says, louder for the folk in the back, Grayson. A 402 listener adds, preach, Grayson. Preach. Credit to you, sir. That was a popular take.
I don't get. I don't know.
T-Bone says, Grayson's on fire. Preach. Look at this. Look at this. The praise is rolling in. You're on a heater.
I mean, I just don't get it. Why can't we live in a world where everybody looks out for themselves? And I think in a perfect world, everybody's looking out for themselves and you find the right marriage. You're going to find the right marriage between the two parties. It may be Bentley. Certainly, from a logistical standpoint with Ben Arbuckle, it might be.
Pastor MC says, I like Grayson fired up. He sounds like a cool combo. Stephen A. Steely.
I mean, I've said before, Stephen A. Smith's the first person that influenced me to get into this business when I was 13 years old. So
Brian and Bigsby says, that's how your average fan feels about competition. They wouldn't want to compete. There's probably some truth to that as well. Kyle from Salisaw adds, somebody give this man a raise. All right, we're going to go work some incentives into Grayson's contract while we hit a quick break here. On the other side, this conversation has taken precedence this hour, and understandably so. But we'll get to some of the reactions from the Future Freaks recruiting weekend. On the other side, already mentioned Peyton Houston. We'll dig into where the Sooners sit with him, as well as several other targets across the 26 and 27 classes. Up next, here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
This is Deion Burks, and you're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
It's your lucky day every day here at Riverwind Casino.
With nearly 3,000 of your favorite games. Plus the best rewards program in the Metro. Use your wild card to win big in our $80,000 Golden Clovers giveaway.
Party like a VIP in a private lounge at the Showplace Theater.
We've got the best of the best. And we'll see you at Riverwind.
That twinge in your knee isn't going to wait until Monday, and neither do we. At Orthostat, we've expanded, so you get better hours, better facilities, and the same great care. Open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week. Whether it's sprains, strains, fractures, or joint pain, from knuckles to knees and every joint in between, our same-day, affordable care gets you back to life faster. Visit OuchOrthostat.com to learn more.
Hi, this is Monty Markham at Markham's Nursery. It's that time of year to get outside and spend some time in the yard, planting your favorite trees, shrubs, and flowers, and we've got a huge selection of them at Markham's. This Saturday and Sunday only, March the 15th and 16th, is our annual spring open house at all Markham's locations. Come by and stock up on seeds, bulbs, pottery, fertilizers, yard ornaments, and much more. We hope to see you this Saturday.
Markham's Nursery, just had the sun.
March is here, and the home of Sooner fans is ready to make the best 68-team giveaway better than ever again this year. Join us Monday, March 17th for the Ref's 24th annual 68-team giveaway, live at Buffalo Wild Wings off of 19th Street and more from noon to 7 as we make this year's 68-team giveaway bigger and better with more ways to win than ever before. Come to the home of wings, beer, and sports and sign up in person for a chance to get a team from the field of 68. The better your team does in the tournament, the better your prize. And even members of the Ref Army who don't get a team get a chance at one of more than 30 instant prizes throughout the event from noon to 7. The Ref's 68-team giveaway is presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind Casino, good times, great rewards. The Ref's 68-team giveaway is also brought to you in part by the Central Oklahoma Buick GMC dealers, Buffalo Wild Wings, Cavens Group, Westwood Family Aquatic Center, Mitchell's Jewelry, Signature Pool and Patio, Valiance Bank, Bob Hurley RV, OEC Fiber, and many more. That's the Ref's 24th annual 68-team giveaway on Monday, March 17th at Buffalo Wild Wings of Moore from noon to 7. The Ref, the home of Sooner fans, and your home for the best giveaways this March.
Every day, we rise, challenging ourselves to work for what we believe in. At U.S. Border Patrol, protecting our borders is more than a job. It's a calling. Agents answer the call, working together to keep our country and communities safe. If you're ready for a new mission, join U.S. Border Patrol and go beyond. Learn more at cbp.gov/careers/Border Patrol.
Does your business need a trusted electrical advisor to help with repairs, maintenance, service changes, or upgrades? Don't just trust anyone. Choose Wade Electric, a family-owned company with over 50 years of experience. Wade Electric has an extensive portfolio of completed projects in new construction, remodels, and service. We specialize in a variety of electrical installations like accent lighting and automation, landscape and security lighting, shop and outbuilding wiring, and more. Call Wade Electric today at 405-329-1940 for all your electrical needs.
All right, back to the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line in just a moment, 651-3439. Again, 405-651-3439. Kyle from Salisaw, you're dang right. He said, if you don't enjoy this weather, you a hoe.
Talk to me now.
Beautiful. Can't wait to head to practice.
I love how the weather gets real nice, and all of a sudden the studio in here is the coldest it's ever been.
Yeah, I don't know what happens in here in the wintertime, but the heater in this place, when it is on, it's like all of the heat concentrates in these rooms where we sit.
Mm-hmm.
It's 71 degrees in the room where I am sitting right now. For the past 2-3 months, with regularity, it's been 77, 78, sometimes as high as 80 degrees. I can't explain any of that. I'm not a heating AC guy. Can't explain what it is about this building that gets all the heat concentrated here. But yeah, we sweat it out on a daily basis for all of you. We don't have to today, though. Gorgeous weather indeed. Now, let's dive in to some of the notable returns from this week's Future Freaks weekend. We talked about Peyton Houston a little bit, and I think the Sooners are in really, really strong position there, Grayson. I would go as far as to say Oklahoma leads. Now, he has been to Oklahoma, and this is notable, he has been to Oklahoma 5 times in the last year. That's more than any other school. More than any other school. Emmett Jones wide receiver board, man, is freaking enormous. Like, I don't know how many wide receivers Emmett Jones is trying to take at this point. Well, I do. They're trying to take 4. But the amount of guys that are either going to OV with Oklahoma or that are even more so than that leaning Oklahoma at this point, like, we can safely assert that Mason James and Alger Miles are leaning OU, and it's been that way for a while. But as we look at this OV slate, Grayson, the Sooners have 4-star wideout Jordan Clay coming in. They obviously have a commit already in Daniel Odom. They just made another offer today, to Jaden Petit, 4-star wide receiver from Naples, Florida, who came in this past weekend without an offer, but visited Oklahoma, loved it, wants to come back, wants to OV, but he didn't have an offer until earlier this afternoon.
Man.
So that the board just gets bigger and bigger and bigger at wide receiver.
I'm going to give you a bold prediction.
Okay.
That may come to fruition in about, what is it, March now? So let's go to November. So
okay.
What is that, 8 months? I think the fan base's opinion of Emmett Jones is going to turn.
What's their opinion of Emmett Jones right now?
I don't know. Every time we talk about Emmett Jones, there's a lot of negativity on the text line.
Well, here's another guy, and I know you've watched him on tape, and there's a lot to like with him, but Craig Dandridge from the state of Georgia
yeah.
was in this weekend. Really liked his time. He's going to loop back around for an OV. OU's fighting for an OV from Jabari Brady out of Coconut Creek, Florida. This is an enormous wide receiver board.
No, I think he's going to land some really, really good players, and I think – obviously, we think Elijah Thomas and Manny Choice are gonna be impact players this year, and I think some of the guys he gets in the 2026 class could be impact players next year. I really think Emmett Jones is in his bag right now.
Now, I have a conspiracy theory to pass along. Okay, are you interested?
Sure.
I have to check the timestamps on this to make sure I can adequately sell this conspiracy theory. Okay. Confirmed. I can proceed. I want you to keep this in mind.
Talk to me.
Oklahoma's one wide receiver commit is whom?
Daniel
Odom. The news breaks that Jaden O'Neal is visiting Georgia at 12:26 p.m. Jaden Petit gets an OU offer at 12:44 p.m.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
Yep, you can connect the dots,
yeah,
can't you?
because Jaden O'Neal and Daniel Odom are best friends.
Very close, both from the state of California.
Uh-huh.
Is this an insurance policy?
That was my thinking. Well, forget Jaden Petit here. It kind of seems like, with as loaded as the OU quarterback room is, and there's a reason I didn't say this because I'm not really sure about this, but it kind of sounds like one of these two quarterbacks that they're going after in the 2026 class could be a potential insurance policy, or somebody else on the roster is. But, yeah, it kind of, yeah. I mean,
so
where there's smoke, there's fire.
So you're slapping the viable label on this conspiracy theory of mine.
Oh, yeah. I think that's more than a conspiracy theory. I don't know if it's a fact yet, but no, you connect the dots and you confirm the timestamps there. There's something going on there, no doubt.
Oklahoma was the very first Power 4 offer this weekend for St. Louis Lutheran North athlete Jonathan Moore, who plays quarterback, but whom Oklahoma likes as a safety. His other offers right now are Kent State and Sacramento State. So obviously on that list, Oklahoma stands out, and with them having the permanent advantage of having been first to the table, they're going to be a player in that recruitment all the way till the end. He is class of 2027. Taking a spin through some others on this visitor list, I thought this was super, super interesting. Is it too early? Because I would say no when it's a kid of this caliber. Is it too early to start talking about the 2028 class? Because let me tell you, Oklahoma made a huge move over the weekend. Huge move. With a class of 2028 defensive end from the Bulls School in Jacksonville that already has 31 FBS scholarship offers, including Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Miami, Ole Miss, Ohio State, Tennessee, Texas. Like, it's a who's who, right? Asher Giotto, 6'5", 235 pounds, from the Bull School in Jacksonville. He visited Oklahoma, and you can read the full story at OUinsider.com. He gave me some of the coolest quotes I've ever received when I did an interview with him. He was blown away by Oklahoma. For instance, he said, and I quote, "This was by far my favorite visit, and it's not even close. I really felt like it was home almost. They're the most welcoming team I've ever been around. I felt like I was already a player here. I'd want to stay another whole week here. It just felt that amazing. Their culture here, it is by far the best I've ever been around. A big thing for me is faith in a program, and today they showed me exactly why they do things here and their quote-unquote why for the game. Their why is faith in God and doing it through him, and that's a really, really big thing for me in a program, just showing me that. That was by far the biggest culture shock. It was awesome being able to be around them." So all of that suggests that, this is a kid that's going to occupy 5-star territory in all likelihood, or at least be up there in the high 4-star range. And Oklahoma's pretty cemented early on. Assuming nothing changes, pretty cemented as a very early contender for Asher Giotto.
One thing, can I throw one thing in here real fast?
Yeah, go ahead.
Speaking of guys giving us pretty cool quotes, how damn good was Michael Fasusi today, too?
Man, he's always so fun to talk to.
That was good, man.
He's a great interview. He loves Oklahoma. He loves that Crimson, as he said, loves Bill Bedenbaugh, loves Brent Venables. He's going to be an outstanding football player, but also an outstanding representative of the university for years to come. Recruiting Boomer asks, so is Jaden O'Neal still considered a commit? Yes, he's still considered a commit. In fact, this is not the first time he's visited another school while committed to Oklahoma. He visited Colorado this past fall for a game day. So, this is not even the first example of Jaden O'Neal, if you want to call it putting the policy to the test. Yeah, not the first example here. By the way, quick check on the YouTube poll. It has gone final. Ask the folks who they'd rather have in the 2026 class at quarterback. 58% said Jaden O'Neal. Only 15% said Bo Bentley. 26% simply said, I don't care, just don't screw it up and go 0 for 2. So, it would seem that Jaden O'Neal has a lot of grassroots support, which is not shocking when you consider how long he's been committed to Oklahoma, how vocal he has been with his commitment to Oklahoma, and about everything he loves with the program. Not to mention the work that he has done as a peer recruiter, most notably with a guy like Daniel Odom.
Which is where that offer to Petit just gets kind of strange. Because these guys talk.
Yep.
I mean, you cannot underscore the fact that you just brought it up, peer recruiting. That's a real thing.
Kyle from Sallisaw asks, if we fumble the bag with O'Neal, does that push Peyton Houston away, knowing they have a good relationship? No, I don't think that would push Peyton Houston away. Because, again, like if you're looking at it from Peyton Houston's point of view, you can hardly say, well, Oklahoma did Jaden O'Neal dirty. No, all they did was they wanted to bring in another guy. And they pushed for another guy. I guess in this hypothetical scenario, they would have landed another guy in Bo Bentley. And so if you're about the smoke, if you're about the competition, then you're going to stick around, right? And so I would hardly think that would change Peyton Houston's viewpoint on Oklahoma if indeed Jaden O'Neal wound up going to a school like Georgia or any other school for that matter.
I think it would heighten the possibility Peyton Houston comes here.
I think it would as well. I think it would as well because you're starting to talk about 2 quarterbacks in the 2026 class potentially being a deterrent or an inhibitor for getting the 27 class. I've long said I think Peyton Houston is better than any quarterback in the 26 class right now, let alone 27. So I think that dude's going to show up and he'll make noise for the starting job as a true freshman wherever he lands, Oklahoma or elsewhere. So I don't think he's going to have much to worry about, much that he will be worrying about in the competitive department. I think Oklahoma's in very, very good shape with the blue chipper from Shreveport, Louisiana. Okay, some of these conversations will no doubt carry into tomorrow. I would hope all of you will be back with us Same time, same place. We'll kick off another installment of Locked In at 2 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. For Grayson Singleton, I am Parker Thune. We're through here on The Ref, but don't go anywhere. Tyler and Teddy have The Rush coming up on the other side.